available in that way. How are you thinking about privacy, and how does that extend to the way in which you engage with developers on the platform?
I think most of the privacy stuff is about our relationship with the end users and them putting trust in us to be good brokers and good shepherds of their information. We're somewhat lucky, like we talked about, we kind of stumbled on this thing. It wasn't like we know 6 years in the future public by default is going to be the thing. It was a simple service about sharing and expressing what's going on around you in a public way. And it turns out that that's where a lot of people want to go, and that happens to be kind of the initial premise that we started out with. So as people come onto the network, that there's an understanding of how that data will be shared throughout the ecosystem. And we put rules in place as we work with developers, and those are very clearly defined around what they're allowed to do with that data as well. And there's a lot of questions in this audience probably pertains to a lot about re-syndication of Twitter data. And to date, we've put a very kind of strict policy around no re-syndication of data. We work directly with the people, the developers that get the data, because we want to enforce those policies and make sure that we can maintain that kind of trust with the end users and be good shepherds of their information. And if you add kind of more intermediaries in between, you don't know who's actually getting the data and what they're doing with it. I think we run the risk of losing trust with users. So it's really important to us that we figure that out. And I think we can figure out re-syndication, but it has to be done in a really kind of metered way and make sure we enforce and expect all those same things to kind of filter downstream.
One of the challenges among many that Twitter's facing is its rapid growth, and part of it is just let's keep the wheels on the wagon, and let's build this great developer community and really support them. There's also that level in the developer community of monitoring and ensuring policy. Can you stay ahead of that?
Try to. Again, we're a small team. At Chirp, we announced 100,000 applications. I think last week we crossed over 140,000, and that's 140,000 registered applications. Which for us, it's a hard metric because people use data, they use public RSS feeds, you can get to data without actually being a registered application. So the only kind of core metric that we know currently is around just how many registered apps are. And that's not a direct representation of exactly how many active apps there are. But there's a lot of use. I mean, that's the core tenet of that. We try to stay ahead of it. We try and do things in a high leverage way. So we can take a team and build tools as opposed to having to be one-on-one relationship for everything. And again, helping the community support themselves is a really key piece of that. But I think you battle and you try and stay ahead of it. Every projection we have for growth seems to kind of get blown out, especially since Chirp. It's been a whole nother ticket to the line that we didn't expect. So we try our best. There's definitely some periods that it's tough for everyone inside because we know the system isn't operating the way we want it to, and we're really committed to getting it to a place that operates in a really stable and reliable way. And I think you have to be there if you're going to be considered a true platform. So it's something we're focused on a ton, and we're trying to get all the right people and the right kind of framework in place to make that happen.
Well, it's leading into my next question, which is really about having a platform, having frameworks, having policy, having the ability to keep all the trains running on time, and sort of as a requirement for moving to sort of the next level of development or developer community, which is in the enterprise. We've seen a lot of really terrific consumer applications. We're just only beginning to see enterprise or sort of business intelligence kinds of applications coming in. Some really interesting things happening there. And I can imagine that there are a whole lot of internal developers who are thinking, how do we use this stream within our own businesses? Where do you see Twitter? How do you envision Twitter as a platform for enterprise class applications?
It's when we went to do the kind of whole fire hose model and figure out how do we make the fire hose available to anyone from Google to two developers in Russia wanting to work out of their apartment. We tried to take a survey of all of the companies we knew, the different ways they would use it. And we really started trying to get them into the broadest possible buckets. And the two ones we kind of came up with are the data companies, like a Radian 6, who can consume the fire hose, and they give it to a brand manager behind a paywall, and they say, thumbs up, you like Nike, that's great. And that's kind of where the corporate and kind of enterprise has sat for a long time, tapping into the power of the network to find some intelligence about what's going on. And on the other side of the business, or other side of the use, was this kind of display and engagement model, where they're taking in tweets or trying to find the best ones, whether it's news or media or whatever, displaying it to users and letting them retweet it, follow them, or whatever. So there's this engagement side. And we thought those kind of two were fairly easy to separate. But now that we're seeing the guys who are doing the core data services and are working with the enterprises are going to the next level of not just allowing you to like understand what's going on, but now helping you and giving you the tools to help engage with your audience and help kind of move conversations. And that's where we're really excited, because it's great to get the data in, but we don't want it to be a one-way street. We want it to be an engagement model and create a conversation. And I think that's where we'd love to see the enterprises going, not just tapping into it for intelligence, but doing something actionable on top of that intelligence. There's a ton of tools that are starting to crop up to help businesses do that.
An article, and I sometime over the last few days published in USA Today, and I only say that because I've been traveling internationally, so I don't know what issue it was, but in any case, it was about Twitter, and Dana Boyd described it at one point as a free-for-all. And I think one of the things I hear when I talk to people about Twitter, whether it's on a consumer level or on a business application level, is, I don't get it, and people are talking about that they had what they had for breakfast, or that they're going to the loo, and why is that valuable? And the sort of high noise to signal ratio has kind of framed what Twitter's about for a lot of businesses. And when you think about a sophisticated Fortune 100 company and the levels of assurance they might need to adopt a platform, do you think that there's a challenge for Twitter in essentially moving the brand image of Twitter from 100 million individuals talking about their breakfast cereal to a real high-use, high-value business use? Do you have you're doing a lot of things on the platform technically to make it available and accessible. Do you need to do things within the company to create assurance that yours is a platform on which people can build their businesses and build new applications that are brand consistent for their customers?
Yeah, I think for a long time, Twitter had great geek cred, right? People knew how to use it. There were usernames. We allowed for all this crazy merchants. People came up with hashtags and at mentions, which is great for our kind of crowd and the people who are into coding. But as you try and apply that to kind of mainstream America and broader internationally, the real world analog starts to kind of break down. People get a little confused. Ev showed a video at Chirp about a user trying to find Twitter on the iPhone. And we've been doing tons and tons and tons of user studies, bringing people in who are new to Twitter, who haven't joined Twitter, who are interested in Twitter, and just seeing them kind of go through the process. And it's something that's been clearly identified internally that we know we need to fix. We have a whole team now kind of dedicated to helping improve that experience and helping people understand the power of it more quickly. We feel that there's kind of the right piece of content for everyone out there, no matter kind of what your niche interest is. So I don't think it's necessarily a perception thing around there's the kind of day-to-day monotonous kind of conversation as well as some of the top-level stuff. It's great that there's both, because I think there's audience for both of those, and you need to be able to connect those people. That's the harder part. That's where we're working now, both through the platform and through Twitter.com as kind of the brand, to help people understand that and connect people with the right users and the right content.
Let's make sure we're including you in the conversation.